Representative Scott Perry, Republican of Pennsylvania, serves on the Homeland Security Committee and also is a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Nice to be here.
Well, thank you. Where do you stand on today's vote on the Homeland Security funding bill?
Well, I vote the yes. Nothing's perfect, but in the greater context, I think it's a move in the right direction. Certainly we need to and want to fund Homeland Security. There's a fair amount of increases in there because we understand we're in a troubled world. At the same time, we must get to, and that people demand that we get to, the constitutional, the extra constitutional foray by the president, as many Americans and myself see it. And this does that. So as much as, and it's going to be touted to be about immigration, it's going to be touted to be about Homeland Security, as it's about the instruction book to operator's manual for our country, and you either accept this or you don't accept it. You don't pick out the parts that you like and throw out the parts that you don't like, and that's what many of us and myself see as what has happened, and we need to remedy that, and this is the opportunity.
You started by saying it's not perfect. What did you mean by that?
Well, listen, there are going to be some Republicans that vote against it because there are going to be some things in there they find unpalatable, and I imagine there'll be Democrats that vote against it for the same reason. But everybody understands we must fund our agencies. Understanding there's waste, there's excesses and abuses there. That's what I mean when it's not perfect. I mean, you try and get everything in due course and in due time, but at the same time, you have to keep moving forward because the world keeps moving forward. So we work within the context that we can, with the time frame we can, but everything's not exactly the way you would do it if you had, everything under your purview.
You said not palatable. Is it because the amendments that have been attached to it specifically on the efforts on deportation efforts?
For some, that'll be unpalatable, absolutely.
For you?
Listen, we have to do something, especially with young people that came here without any, they didn't have any choice in the matter. Their parents brought them here and they're here illegally. We must do something about it. But the bigger issue is the Constitution. And to me, that is the issue, the Constitution. If we don't uphold and defend that, we each took an oath literally a week and a half ago to uphold and defend the Constitution. If you're not willing to do that, and there are a lot of issues. The president, to me, this issue was chosen, maybe selected by the president, but it could have been any issue. It could have been taxes. It could have been a whole host of issues to do an extra constitutional foray. This one was chosen, and this is the one we have to deal with. But that doesn't mean that because it's this issue that we shouldn't deal with it. It is really, to me, about the Constitution more than anything else.
But those amendments do deal with things like Dreamers and DACA and everything else,
absolutely.
Something you said that you maybe had shown some sympathy with. Was that hard for you to kind of put those two things together?
Well, these are difficult decisions, absolutely, and we're paid and elected to make difficult decisions. If it were easy, everybody'd be doing it, but it's imperfect. But you have to look at the total sum and say, is it better than it's worse? And for me, if we just disregard the Constitution, it doesn't matter at some point what the issue is. And so the Constitution is really where it comes down for me.
You probably have a sense of where this will go should it hit the Senate, especially as some Republicans already kind of expressing criticism about these efforts. Your thoughts on that?
Well, listen, they have their job to do as well, but I think that as a member of the House, and the House in particular, needs to do its work and not be so concerned with what the Senate might do or what they might say. We need to do the best we can and send it to them. If they can improve it, if they can make it better, God, that's great, God bless them.
If it ends back on the Speaker's desk and it has to be submitted the same way without the amendments, where would you stand? And would you be okay with that?
I don't think I would be okay because it doesn't necessarily then deal with what many people see and myself see as the president's extra constitutional action. We must deal with that somehow. I don't expect it to come back exactly the same, and we just have to wait and see what they do. They might add some things that I like. I have to look at it in total.
What would you like?
I would like to see Homeland tightened up a little more. There are some excesses and abuses. I've just become the subcommittee chairman on oversight in Homeland. I just got some briefings on some excesses and abuses there, and I would really like us to get into some of that stuff. We really need to make sure that every dollar that's sent is spent most efficiently, and I'm not sure we're doing that in these cases. So
you heard the thoughts of our guest, Representative Scott Perry. He does sit on the Homeland Security Committee. He is a chairman of a subcommittee. You may have thoughts on this vote today in the House at 9 o'clock, starting at 9 o'clock, 202-748-8000, our line for Democrats, 202-748-8001, our line for Republicans, 202-748-8002, our line for Independents. If you want to make your thoughts on Twitter known, it's at WJ. You can send us email to at journal@cspan.org. Your party and others will take place in a retreat this weekend. Immigration is expected to be a big topic. Do you expect some type of consensus to come forward as far as a plan forward when it comes to immigration?
There could be. I think it's going to be a little different with the Senate there. I have gone to these forums before, and when it's just the House, and it's hard to get consensus just out of the House members. You add the Senate, which has a different view of things. I think it's going to add a different dynamic. But the biggest thing is that it's an opportunity for all voices to be heard. We represent 700 and some odd thousand constituents, each of us, and we each have our different ideas based on our constituencies. And sometimes it feels like leadership doesn't necessarily hear all of those things. And so this is really the opportunity, not only for leadership, but for your colleagues to hear. And for me, as a colleague of other members, to hear what the issues are in their districts and why they think the way they do, so that when a comprehensive package is put together, or a series of bills that deal with an issue, you might not agree, but at least you can understand and articulate to your constituents why you're a yes, why you're a no, and the other issues that surround it. Because oftentimes, most times, none of these issues are monolithic.
Are those complicated even by today's efforts, or today's vote? And
Absolutely, absolutely, because the narrative, listen, there's going to be people that are going to say this is about Homeland. There's people that are going to say this is about immigration, and there are people that are going to say this is about the Constitution. And to some extent, while I think it's about the Constitution, many people and some of the media will drive the narrative regardless of what we think we're voting for, and then that colors everything that follows down the line. While I think this is about the Constitution and to a certain extent, a great extent, dealing with Homeland funding, we have vowed, and we want to get to the other parts of immigration that desperately need our attention, and we plan to do that. But what happens here and how it's seen might change that process.
What's the top priority when it comes to immigration in your mind?
Well, the top priority for immigration is border security, quickly followed by the visa program. It doesn't work for working families. It doesn't work for businesses. It just doesn't work for our countries. It hasn't really been modified to really change with the times as times change for 20, 25 years. And to me, we need to get to that.
Our guest is here. To your calls, Port St. Lucie, Florida. Bob, you're up first. Representative Scott Perry, Republican of Pennsylvania. Go ahead.
All right. I just one of these people keep calling in saying Obama's breaking the law and he's doing everything wrong. And we have laws here, and we have judges here, we have police department. Why don't they call up, have him arrested if he's breaking the law, or shut up?
Well, Bob, I appreciate your point. The issue is that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, but it's unfortunately in some cases kind of up for conjecture or review or opinion, and that has to go through the courts. So while I think that the president has kind of breached his constitutional authority, I believe that. It sounds like you believe that. We also have due process in this country, and this is the due process. So we're going to try and make our claim, and then I imagine it will go through the courts portion. So this will go through the courts at the same time. But this is a process by which we have to determine whether there has been kind of a law broken, if you want to say, or gone outside the constitutional authority, and then seek the remedy at that point.
Robert.